I completely agree with you 100%. As you're talking about this, for me, my life is a little bit different, right? I don't have an autistic kid. I cannot relate with you. I can only imagine what you're going through. But as you're talking about this drowning experience, even though I can't relate with you, but my mom has dementia. And I was just thinking about this morning. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm drowning. I'm just so drained. And I don't need somebody to tell me how great I am. Like, I'm part of the sandwich generation gap. You're being responsible. You're taking care of your parents. You're doing your Asian, your thing, taking care of your parents, your elder respect. I'm like, I don't need to tell you that. It sucks. If I can be honest, it sucks. There are days just like I want to pull my hair out. There are days just like this thing will never end. I can totally relate with you from that perspective. I don't have a son who's autistic, but man, this is such powerful conversation.
And I appreciate you saying that because pain is pain. Suffering is suffering. It doesn't matter how it's gift wrapped. Suffering is suffering. And at the end of the day, unpacking the suffering, not for the sake of look at me, woe is me, but from a place of productivity where it's like, I want to address this. Maybe I just need a punching bag. I need to vent. And I have a friend of mine who, she's a dear friend, grew up together, and she has a son who's on the spectrum. We have our conversations. We end up having a mutual friend who has neurotypical kids. And our mutual friend came to me and she goes, I want to connect, but I don't know how. And I'm like, thank you for acknowledging that. And my advice was so simple. And it may not be the best advice, but it was the advice that I could give. It's like, if someone vents to you about their challenges, there are only two words that you have to say. They're venting about their challenges. They're frustrated. They're going through their thing. Your response could be, go on. That's it. I'm not going to try and relate. I'm not going to try and sympathize. I'm not going to try and lighten your burden, but I can be an ear. Go on. And just let them go. And at the end, a couple things you can do. Anything else? Are there books that I can read, or is there information? I can't comprehend what you're going through. Are there books that you would recommend that would help me understand better so I can better support you in whatever way I can? I'm here. I care. I can't relate, but I want to. And that's it. It's as simple as that. And again, it doesn't have to go all the way to spectrum or pain. It can go to the simple concept of parenting. Because again, parenting is supposed to be, in fable lore, parenting is supposed to be this beautiful gesture of creation of life. You're going to be this mentor and forming the destinies of little children. No, the first couple of years of parenting, you're trying to keep this little creature alive. That's your sole purpose. You're trying to keep this little creature alive. Don't touch plugs, don't touch hot stoves, make sure you're fed, make sure you're burped. And it's not glamorous. It's hard. And so is it possible for us parents to just vent our frustrations about parenting without being judged? And the answer is yes, because there are people like me and you who are creating spaces for us to actually have these conversations and it being okay.
As you're talking about this, I'm laughing. I'm laughing with you. It's so true. 100%. Next question is, you mentioned that your son is your greatest teacher. So I truly believe our children are here for a purpose. I always tell my daughter, like, I'm learning just as much from you that you are learning from me. And you're also my greatest teacher. Tell us more about that.
I have a phrase that I can constantly say to my sons. I look at them invariably when they do something that I just absolutely admire. And I look them dead in their eye and I say, I want to be like you when I grow up. And they just look at me and are like, huh? And I just look, I'm like, look, you may never understand what I'm telling you, but I want to be just like you when I grow up. I think about when my wife and I got married, and I remember our wedding day, I felt so much love and passion and joy and connection. And I said, God, I can never love another human as much as I love you. And then our first son was born. I looked at him and I looked at my wife and I said, man, do I even love you? Like, man, this child I love so much. I look at my wife and I'm like, do I even love you? It's like, dude, man, my love for this child is way more than I ever thought I could love. And then my second son comes, I'm like, oh my goodness, there's more? And what did they say? What is the saying that it says something to the effects of learning is remembering? And I've always felt that children can be such great teachers of acceptance, of joy, of present moment, of pretend, of curiosity, of potential, of life and excitement. And like every time I get stressed, I come home, I look at my kids and they don't have a care in the world. I'm like, man, that's awesome. Invariably ask them about their day and they tell me that they have hardships, but it just like, it's water on rocks. Like it just doesn't faze them. I'm like, man, it's amazing. And sometimes I'll have challenges. I'll be like, man, Sebastian, what do you do when you get so mad? And he tells me, and I'm like, that's brilliant. I'll look at my other son, I'm like, so Elliot, what would you do if someone called you a name? And he just starts laughing and he goes, wow, that means I'm a blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wow. You didn't take that personally at all. You just accepted and you just made a joke out of it. Wow, that's so profound. And again, as adults, it's sort of like, what rules did we accept in life that made us let go of the innocence that we had as children? Like life was just so much easier as children. Why does it have to be difficult now? We deal with other people when we were kids. Well, we have responsibility. Well, you have responsibilities as kids too. It may not be as grand or as pressure sensitive or whatever the case, but we're kind of dealt the same hands in certain regard. And as such, can we show up childlike as adults, mirroring our kids? And so this is why my kids are my greatest teacher, because at the end of the day, I do want to be like them when I grow up. I want to be carefree. I want to have fun. I want to experience joys doing the things that I enjoy. I want to be very clear about what I don't enjoy and being okay with saying I don't want to do that. They're the best. For any parent that's listening to this, it's like, if you think that I'm full of crazy, I am. And I say that in a very, very wonderful way, because is it possible, if you don't see your kids this way, is it possible for you to see them in a different way? That they're not your kids, they are individual human beings that you can learn from. And once I started adopting that type of psychology, I saw them differently and I started treating them differently. They were never mine to begin with. And they are individuals that I have the privilege of walking side by side in life with them. And invariably, I just started ahead of them. And maybe I can impart any type of wisdom that will help them get to where they want to go. That's it. And in doing so, they teach me all about life in this current understanding.
I love it. A lot of times I feel like I have to reverse or unlearn the things we learn as an adult. And, it's really cool that you talk about that, because I do see myself parallel, and I see myself at her age, my daughter's age, and how my daughter's 9 right now. When I was 9, how I grew up, and she is so much smarter than I was when I was a kid. And I can learn so much more from her. This is so awesome.
It is. And again, at the end of the day, our kids aren't going anywhere. And being a parent can be stressful, or it could be the best thing that ever happened to you. And the only thing that changes that reality is a decision. Can we make the decision for our kids to be the best things that ever happened to us, with no reservation, with no burden, with all the bliss in the world? There are days when my kids are not the best and when I am not the best. And for some reason, I actually tend to, how when as an individual, you can remember all the bad things that happen and you seldom remember the good things. With my kids, I've conditioned myself. I rarely remember the bad things and I just remember the good things. I don't know how that happened, but good God, let's keep going with that train with everything that I do, because that is just the way to live. So again, parents, if you're listening out there, there's hope.
Love so much about this conversation. You dropped so many golden nuggets, from holding space for parents just to vent, the part where it says, we're not going to find the answers for you. And maybe sometimes I can't relate with you. And the part where you mentioned, like, tell me more, go on, anything else you want to share. That itself is so powerful, right? And then the other part is I love about this conversation is you mentioned to your kids, like, I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to be like you when I grow up, right? Third golden nugget really hit home for me was, remember the good days. We always remember everything that's wrong within our lives. It's the remember the good days that makes everything worth it.
And I'll actually add to the last one, where if you get in a habit of remembering the good days, you'll actually start seeing more good in your days. It's just, there's no way that you cannot, because if you remember that, that's going to be in your recollection, and then what you focus on expands and you just start seeing more good in a day. And again, as parents, I have this belief system where pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. And I believe that suffering is actually a learned skill. I believe that suffering was taught to me by my parents. Not intentionally, it's just through modeling and osmosis, I learned how to suffer the way they suffered. Well, in a vacuum, if we were to end all parent suffering, and every parent intentionally said the suffering stops with me, my children will never learn how to suffer. They will experience pain. I've seen my kids go through pain, and then 2 minutes later, there is no suffering in their body because they experienced all the pain and then it went away and they let it go and all is done. Great teaching moment. And it's like, wow, how did you do that? How did you not suffer? Well, I shouldn't teach you how to suffer and hold grudges and identify with negativity and da. So if the suffering ends with me, every parent in the world says the suffering ends with me, we will successfully end suffering in the world. We will never prevent pain from happening, but we will prevent suffering for the rest of mankind. And so this entire conversation leads up to ending parent suffering, whether it's getting to support yourself by putting yourself first, whether it's actually finding a space for you to have conversations about challenging times in parenting, whether it's how do you interact with your kids. It's this ability to end suffering or to prevent future generations from suffering. And in doing so, what a future the world will be in. So that's kind of the whole intention with this.
And I love it. And I love how you talked about ending parent suffering. And I'm all about ending children's suffering. And I believe that they go both hand in hand. And I think it's no accident that you and I have met. And it's no accident that you and I have this conversation today. It is much needed conversation that needs to be amplified throughout the world to really help parents and children out.
And I'll actually add to what you just said just now. We're on a roll. So let's just this popped up too. If you think about your desires as a child to your parents, what do you want most that will make you happy for your parents? All you want is to see your parents happy. That's all you want as a child. So if you now take that knowledge of what do you want to see for your parents, I just want to see my parents happy. And then you think about that as a parent. Your job is to be happy because that's all your kids want for you. If you successfully create your own fulfillment, your kids don't have to carry that burden. And now they're free to create their own lives. That's the greatest gift you can give as a parent, in my opinion. It's this ability that my parents are happy. So now the world is okay. The world is safe. I can focus on myself and figure myself out. I don't have to focus on making my parents proud, getting an A or scoring the last goal so that my parents will be happy. No, my parents are already happy. Now I get to just experience life and get to know myself better. That's the gift you can give as a parent, in my opinion.
100%. I totally agree with your opinion. It's funny how you mentioned that because in one of the other podcast episodes, I was interviewing a gentleman who's 22 years old. And, he said, when my parents are happy, then I can be happy, allows me to be happy, to be a kid. I feel safe. I feel heard. And most important part is we all know this, we model off our parents. If our parents are stressed out all the time, guess what's going to happen to the kid? They're going to model off that too. So if we are not happy, guess what's going to happen to our kids? Over time, they're happy now, but over time, they're going to learn all the bad habits that we have. And they're going to be stressed and they're going to be overwhelmed. They're going to be frustrated. And by the time they become parents, that cycle goes over and over and over again. We call it intergenerational trauma. We have to, it's our responsibility. It's also our job to end this. And it starts now.
Correct. And it goes into you talked about in the beginning. Every parent will sacrifice for their child. Every parent, most parents will sacrifice for their kids. They'll die on the sword for their kids. They will work to the ends of the earth to support their kid. Would you be healthy for your kids? Would you have a fulfilling relationship with your partner for your kids? Would you have an unbelievable relationship with your job where you look forward to working every single day for your kids? Because those things directly impact your kids. It's no longer the sermon of do as I say, not as I do. We're going back to Solomon's paradox. It's I am embodying the teachings that I am bestowing upon you. And so if you want to model me, have at it, because I know that what I am saying, I am also doing. And that's, again, I'm happy. I meditate with my kids. My kids are, the oldest just turned 9. The youngest is 6. They meditate with me every day. They meditate with me. Not that long, but they meditate with me. They see me stretching every day. And guess what they want to do? Can I stretch too? Yeah, let's go for it. They see me running. Oh, can I run with you? Yeah, let's go for it. And these are the things that actually shaped me to be a better parent. When my son was diagnosed, I went through a deep, dark, I'm not going to call it depression. I'm going to go through a deep, dark place where I questioned everything. You talk about shame. I questioned whether or not I was a good enough dad for my son. I questioned whether or not it was my fault that he had this diagnosis. I questioned whether or not he would be better off without me. I went through all of these questions. If you're going through these questions, trust me, it's more common than you think. We just don't talk about it. I'll air out my laundry all day long. And the one thing that changed my life and the life of me being a parent and changed my kid's life is when I took care of myself first. I lost weight. I got my mind straight. I had my own outlets. I had my own fulfillment, independent of being a parent, independent of being a partner. I found individual fulfillment for myself. And in doing so, I now had the space and the patience and the energy to be the parent that they needed me to be, not the parent that I was by default based on the modeling I was given as a child. And so again, this is why I speak so passionately about this, because this is the greatest gift you can give your children, is the self-actualization of you being your best self, you being your most fulfilled in life, because that will directly impact how they see and approach the world.
Very powerful. Thank you so much. If my audience want to get a hold of you, how do they reach you?
You can go to ceoparent.com and I'll have all the channels on there. You can buy my book on there and you can connect with me on there as well if you want to talk more. But I'm also going to be working on some big things, getting a parent group together to do the thing. We talked about that, doing the thing. We're going to start doing a lot of things as parents. And so I want to create a community so that parents can start doing more things.
Love it. Hey, let's wrap up. So until then, live purposely, love passionately, and be the most remarkable parent you're meant to be. We'll see you in future episodes.